Hi, my name is Jeremy Gore, and I'm sitting here today with my cousin Andy Gore. And I have known Andy my entire life. We have so many good memories together, and I was just curious, Andy, what is your first memory with me? I'll tell you my memory with you, but I want to know, what's your first memory with me?
That goes back to Grandma Gore's house over in Pasco, Washington. I remember we were over there with me and my dad and my sister, and then you. I don't remember who else from your family. You were so young. I imagine you were 5 or younger. But that day, I remember you were playing house with my sister. I remember being frustrated because that's such a stupid game. My parents had to force me to play house with her if I had to play it. And it was never fun for her because it wasn't fun for me, so we didn't really play house. Mm-hmm. And the fact that you were enjoying or seemed to enjoy playing house really irritated me because I wanted to play basketball or go downstairs and play darts or just do something fun. Yeah. And so I don't remember what I was doing, but finally I got you away from my sister and we started doing stuff and we had such a good time. Everything we did, our minds were just going the same direction. We competed well together, and it was a blast. So that day stuck out, and very soon after that, I found out that you guys were moving away. Mm-hmm. And it frustrated me because I had just made friends with my buddy Jeremy. I didn't really understand the whole cousin thing. I just knew I had a good friend named Jeremy that I met at Grandma's house, and whenever you were there and I were there, we had fun together, and now it was gone, and I was just frustrated about that. So I told my parents, it's not fair. Jeremy's moving away, I just met him. And so they tried to explain why you were going away. It didn't matter. I just had to mourn the loss of my buddy Jeremy. And I didn't feel like, after you move away, you're just gone. Out of sight, out of mind. I'd never see you again, and just whatever could have been was disappeared at that point. So that's my first memory. Very young kid memory, but
how
it was very real.
So I think I moved away at 5. It was definitely before first grade. How old do you think you were?
Well, I'm 52 now. How old are you?
48.
So we don't even know how old. 4 years older?
Yeah. Okay, so you're probably about 9 years old, maybe 8 years. Okay, so my first memory of you, I don't know how old I was, but I think you're like in the 7-year-old, 8-year-old age range, right? So it's really interesting, first of all, that an 8-year-old had fun with a 4-year-old, right? And that we were kind of directionally focused in the same way. Because now our age gap is minimal, but back when you're that age, then it's a lot more different. So I remember my first memory of you specifically was whenever there was a volleyball game going on in Grandma's backyard. Everyone was over. All the
cousins, everybody, family.
All the cousins. It was probably like a Sunday afternoon or something, right, when everyone was over. And the volleyball was hit up in the tree, Grandma's tree. Do you remember what kind of tree that was?
I don't remember what kind, but it was huge and was very climbable. We all love climbing the tree.
Okay, so I remember it got up there. It got stuck in the branches, and you immediately darted over to the tree. And do you remember this?
No, but I'm sure I wanted to be the one.
You did. You climbed up, and you walked out onto a branch, right? You didn't shimmy out. You didn't go, hand over hand. You actually walked on the branch holding your hands out like this. And I remember looking up thinking, that guy is crazy. What in the world is he doing? And everybody on the ground was just sitting there with bated breath, what's going to happen? Is he going to fall and kill himself? And I remember your dad was like, good job, Andy. He was encouraging you.
Don't die, Andy.
Don't die, yeah.
I'll be busted if you die.
You're going to be okay. Yeah. And you walked out and you picked the ball out of the branches and you threw it down and everybody cheered, right? And you walked back. I'm like, man, that kid is courageous. I didn't understand it in that frame.
Yeah.
I didn't know what courage was. I was like, there's something admirable about him that I want that kind of bravery or courage.
You just didn't realize I was crazy because you were too young.
Yeah, I was okay. Yeah, I didn't know he's crazy. Later I figured it out, but yeah, so that was my first memory of you doing something adventurous, right? And it seems like we were always doing adventurous things together.
That's why I liked you, because you were willing to do whatever crazy idea I came up with, it seemed like a good idea to you too, and I was a comrade in arms. So
Yeah.
that was cool.
Yeah.
But
So
I don't remember a lot of those. Just
well, what you had was an attitude, right? I was willing to do the things, but you had the attitude. Here's a great example. All right, so I remember one time I was over at your house and we were riding bikes, and we went out into a 5-lane road, right? So 2 lanes going this way, 2 lanes this way, 1 in the middle. It was a busy road, and you just rode right into the middle of the road and started riding down the middle lane. And I was following, like, what are you doing? We're gonna get killed. I said, Andy, what are you doing? And you're like, go get out of the way, it's fine.
we have the right of way.
We have the right of way.
That was really a freeing message I learned one day when I was driving with my parents. They got out of the way of someone. They trying to teach me a lesson. The pedestrian always has the right of way, so you always stay clear of them. What I heard was, oh, I can do whatever I want.
Do whatever you want.
Cars will get out of my way.
That's awesome.
It's funny.
We're always doing stuff like that.
Always getting in trouble when we got caught, getting away with it when we didn't, but always life was an adventure.
Yeah.
Always has been, and that's why I hope I always live my life.
Yeah.
Not necessarily doing stupid stuff, but
Well, in our minds, adventure was danger, right?
an element
of danger, something going wrong, the possibility of something going
Yes.
wrong. So there had to be uncertainty.
Yep.
There had to be risk. There had to be like this obstacle that had to be overcome, or something that had to be like circumnavigate, like something that needed to be a challenge. That's what it was, a challenge that needed to be overcome, and the outcome was uncertain. And even if it was throwing darts underneath the
ping pong
table. So we had this game. Do you want to describe it?
I don't care, whatever.
We had this game in my grandma's basement. There was a ping pong table.
Well, there was a dartboard. On the wall,
Yeah.
with darts. We were supposed to aim at the dartboard and throw, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that was the intent of why our parents and grandparents put that down there.
Right. Go down there and play dart, kids. Dart. Right?
That's no fun.
That's no fun. So we took the darts and we lined up on, there was walls, probably 5 feet on either side of the ping pong table. And we would take the darts and we would throw them as fast as we could underneath the ping pong table.
So you can't see them coming.
You can't see them coming. And
you have about 5 feet to react when you see it.
And you
with
jump.
this flying dart on the ground.
That's right. You jump and hope that the dart doesn't hit your feet. It actually hits the wall behind you.
But we didn't play with shoes on.
That's right.
We played either barefoot or socks.
That's right.
So you had to pay a price if it hits you.
We started out with shoes. We were like, hey, this is too safe.
It's not enough challenge.
That's right.
Not thinking it through, what happens if the dart goes in your toe?
Yeah.
I don't think anybody ever got hurt. We always just managed to get away.
No. I remember definitely Jeff got a dart in his toe. in between the toes. I remember that.
Poor Jeff.
That was hilarious. So we were always doing crazy things like that. And it seemed like those things escalated.
Got more dangerous, got more challenged. Wherever we were able to accomplish or able to conquer, there had to be a bigger challenge, more at stake.
That's right. We were always pushing the envelope, no matter what it was. Like, we would just think of something and almost like, hey, this is pushing the envelope. Do you want to do this?
And there's always a yes. If you're challenged to do something, you can't say no, right? You're punked into the yes, or you're the jerk. So whoever comes, even if you're concerned, if the other person does it first, you got to do it too.
Yeah.
So
yeah. Like the first time you took me rock climbing.
Was that? So are you talking about Signal Mountain?
Sunset Rock.
That's the first time.
That was the first time. I'd never been rock climbing before. And you, living in Washington, you went rock climbing a lot.
Yes, you weren't living in Washington.
No, I was not living in Washington.
Yeah.
I was in high school, and you were in college.
Well, at the time that I took you climbing, I was in college, yeah.
Okay.
So I moved from eastern Washington, the Tri-Cities, over to Orting, which is near Tacoma, my junior year of high school. And from that point, early on, I found a place called Sprinker, and they had a man-made rock to train people how to rock climb. There was no such thing as indoor rock climbing facilities at that time. It's very, everything was outside, everything was pure, right? Hippie pure. And so there's many different routes. It was about a 35, 40 foot. I'm trying to remember. I'm sure someone will tell me I'm wrong, but in my mind, that's how tall it was. And there are plenty of places to use rope. Nobody used rope on that rock. I never went over to that rock ever and found somebody using a rope. There was plenty of places to do that, but all the people that I was climbing around felt like the most purest form of rock climbing was free climbing, what we called free climbing. Now they call it free solo. But back then we called it free climbing, so that's old school, that's what I call it. So we would take a route, and if we couldn't do it, we'd come down, jump down, take another route, but you either make it or you don't. I mean, that was the mentality. And so I came over to Chattanooga, living with you guys my second year of college with that mentality, but I had rope, I had a harness, I had the figure eight at that time, no gree-grees, but had a figure eight and had an element, rock climbing shoes, had an element of safety in my head on what you're supposed to do, but without the practice. So my first REI, I still have that, first REI harness is the one you're talking about, and this is one that you would put the buckle through once and bring it back through, and there was just enough room to get it back through. It wasn't even sized right. So that's the one you're talking about.
Too small.
I put that, too small. So I put you in that. We were going to rappel down. And I put you down first so that you weren't rappelling yourself down. I was gearing you up, and I was going to be your brake at the top. And so the whole thing, that's the setup.
Okay. So just to back up, you know what? I now remember that I did go climbing with you at Sprinker. One summer when I came out and I visited you, I was probably in, I don't know, 7th, 8th grade, something like that. And you took me to Sprinker. And I remember you climbing up the rock and getting to the very top, and something happened. You fell off and you flew off the top of the rock.
Pushed away,
Pushed away. And then you landed, and there was
rabbit pebbles, what I call that. Just a lot of loose rock at the bottom to try to break that fall.
And you like scrunched down and then pushed back, made a big mark, and then got right back on the rock. And it was almost like seeing that little kid climb the tree. I was like, what in the world? This guy has unbelievable courage. And so from then, I was, I didn't have any places to rock climb where I was. But then you came and lived with us in Chattanooga, and you're like, hey, do you want to go rock climbing? I've got the gear. And that's when I said yes, and you took me out to Sunset Rock.
So we went to Sunset Rock, we set up. I had two, you always have two places that you tie off to, right? Not one, so one backup in case one fails.
Two anchors.
Two anchors, I had them set up. I put you on the figure eight, checked your harness to make sure that it was secure to your legs, and it was through the belt loop, everything was golden, and sent you off, and I'm at the top, and you get this look of panic on your face.
Halfway down.
Not even halfway. So halfway would have been better. I would say you're 5 to 7 feet from the top when the look of panic comes on your face.
I don't remember where I was. I just remember feeling the exposure, right? When you get over the edge and you're kind of like going down, you're like,
but everybody feels that. Everybody has that until that rope hits that rock. I feel that way every time you go to rappel. It's just not natural. When the rope hits, then you feel secure, right? That's what I figured was going on with you. So I'm like, you get that look in your face, you'll be fine. Let's just get over it, right? But you're not getting over it. And I don't remember what you said. What did you say to me?
I was like, Andy, is this supposed to do this? Like, is this right?
And so in my head, I'm thinking, the rope is supposed to go down. Everything is fine. So I remember giving you a reassuring statement of some sort. And you're not convinced. And what did you say?
I'm like, no, I was like, are you sure? Because I was like, this doesn't feel right. This is hard.
And it didn't look right. When I'm looking at you, it didn't look right either. I'm like, what's wrong with him? He just needs to go down, But I knew something didn't look right either until the guy comes over. So Chattanooga had a lot of expert climbers.
Oh yeah.
And everybody shares their opinion. It's kind of annoying back then. What year is this? It's like 91?
It's probably like 91.
Early 90s, like And so it's new on the scene, and everybody's finding new areas. It's just really neat from a rock climbing perspective, all the groups that are getting together. And these guys are coming over and they're going to tell me what we're doing wrong because everybody did that.
Oh, yeah.
Like, thank
Yeah.
you for your opinion, right?
Right.
This guy was panicked. And he said, his belt loop's undone. And he's giving me a moron type statement. You idiot. And I look down knowing that's not the case. And I see what looked wrong was your whole belt was undone. And the only thing holding you in was your leg loops.
Right.
Just horrible.
That's right.
You still have the figure 8 and you still have the rope.
Still going through the
and
figure
so
8.
it's connected janky, but it's dangerous, really bad. Yeah. And so I don't know what else he said, but the first guy that came over caused other people to come over.
Yeah.
So
there was a huge crowd at the top. And I remember they were panicked. I'm like, I know I should be more panicked.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't even know what's going on.
You knew something was wrong, and now they know it's wrong, but what do I do?
Why is everyone panicking?
And so everybody's shouting at once,
Yes,
right? And
they're
so
all trying to tell me what to do.
How do you listen? Yeah. I'm just trying to say, Jeremy, just go down, just go down, just go down. Just get to the bottom, right?
Yeah.
And so you did great. You kept your composure. However you keep that composure, you kept on going down, and you made it down to the bottom. You're here.
Yeah.
But that was really scary.
Yeah.
And that was a wake-up call to safety. And funny enough, in my mind, those harnesses aren't really as, you don't really need to use harnesses. They need to do better with harnesses. In my mind, not that I did it wrong, but harnesses are junk. So I didn't learn a good lesson there, other than if I'm going to take someone climbing, you better just free climb. Don't put your trust in a harness.
That's a good point. That's a good point. So we did we free climbed after that.
Everything. All we did was free climb.
Yeah.
If we were rappelling, we'd use a harness and a rope, but we didn't use that for climbing.
Yeah.
No one did. And my sense of adventure at that time, I'd never been seriously hurt, was it's every time you climb, it's life or death.
Yeah.
And if you win, you conquered death.
The feeling that you get climbing over the edge after knowing that you were that close.
You could have died at any point, any mistake.
Yeah.
You're dead.
Yeah.
And you're climbing 80, 90-foot rocks.
Right.
In areas where, if you fall, it's on a rocky bottom. You're unlikely to survive, and you do survive, you're messed up for the rest of your life.
Right.
And yeah, you're right, that sense of accomplishment, like I beat it. I won. And you're not winning against anybody else. It's you against the rock. It's me against nature.
Yeah.
You're right.
It's you against yourself.
It is an absolute high.
Yeah.
I got addicted to that.
Yeah.
That adrenaline, I couldn't get enough of it.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry I got you into that.
I don't know if I've ever told you this, but I got a fake ID when I was 16. Did you know that?
Yeah.
So I could go skydiving.
Is that why?
Yes.
Well, there's another thing. I thought rock climbing was awesome. Of all the different things we've done, there's nothing that compares to skydiving.
Yeah.
That is the ultimate high.
Yeah, it was fun.
Of all in that story of where me, you, Jimmy, Phil, Billy went. That's I don't know if we have time for that, but that was an amazing story as well.
Yeah, yeah. Where I looked up and I was like, I just killed Phil. Luckily, he pulled his reserve.
Phil got to the bottom and will never go up again.
That's right.
But that addicted me again. So that was another addiction instant, skydiving. That's fun.
Yeah. So we were always chasing that high, no matter if it was on
motorcycles,
bicycles,
skateboards,
rock climbing, skateboards. That's
tie a
right.
rope to a car and ride a skateboard and back. Yeah, I mean, it's whatever the.
When it snowed outside, we
put a toboggan in the back. Right. Yep. Go around corners as fast as you can to whip them into the ditch.
Yeah.
That was fun. It was fun.
Yeah.
Because we didn't get hurt.
Yeah.
God, I feel like we got a plethora of guardian angels.
Yeah.
Keeping us to this point.
That's right. That's right. I feel like they're all bloodied and bruised and limping. So when you were living with us, you went back to Washington State for a little while. Do you remember how long that was?
Yeah, so I had to work my way through college. My parents couldn't afford to pay all of my way. They helped me, but they couldn't pay all my way. And there would come times where I couldn't afford to go the next semester. So I stayed back a couple semesters, at least 2, maybe 3, to make money to come back again. And this was during one of those times, I think, that you're talking about, where I was back making money. Mm-hmm. And so I was with my other buddy, Dave Height. One of my buddies back in Washington. Same type of experience where, soulmates, and him and Mike, we just did everything together and chased the adrenaline, same kind of stuff.
Yeah.
He and I were climbing on a waterfall. So this place, I don't know what you really call it. Patterson's Road's what I always remember calling it, but it was private property that everybody walked across. And they all went down to this waterfall, and we'd set off fireworks. I think people did drugs down there. They swam down there. I mean, just the place you go just to hang out, whatever.
Yeah.
And so Dave and I were back there, and we had our climbing rope with us. We decided that the waterfall didn't produce enough water because it was dammed up with logs. And so we decided to put the rope, the fulcrum of the rope, over one of the logs that was dammed on the waterfall. Me hang on one side of the rope and him hang on the other, so we're both holding each other up on that log that's on the waterfall and pulling logs off the waterfall to make the waterfall bigger, which was a lot of fun.
Oh yeah, I bet. I can totally see this happening.
And so we were making it bigger, it's doing great, and one of the times I swung out and I was wearing my glasses, I didn't have my contacts on, and my glasses, when the waterfall hit, put my glasses down to the bottom. Well, we didn't have a lot of money. If I'm wasting my money on glasses, then I can't get back to college, and I don't want to live at home. I want to be at college. Yeah. So it's just a bummer, right? I lost my glasses. So I tell Dave, we got to get my glasses. And it was getting to the place where it was going to get dark. So we got off, we went down, and in the pool down below, we couldn't find the glasses. Who knows if they went down further. We just, didn't find them. It got dark, so I had to give up. So rather than just buy another pair, I decided the next morning I would go out before work and see if I could find them again. Now, my license was revoked because I'd gotten too many accidents.
I didn't know that.
Because of the way I drive.
That makes complete sense.
My license wasn't revoked, that's wrong. I just couldn't afford insurance. My insurance dropped me. So I had my license, but I couldn't drive because it was like $1,000 a month for insurance. So my mom had to drive me.
You were high risk.
I was very high risk, and they known, right?
Yeah.
So she drove me over to the place. I walked over, and you just got to understand this place. So it's a high bluff. It's not a sheer wall. It's graded, but to fall down that wall, you had to stay against the dirt. If you're not pressed against the dirt, you could fall away from the dirt. So it's a really steep grade.
Okay, steep embankment.
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you fell down, you didn't fall off.
Okay.
But there's no way down unless you hold onto roots from trees that had just been left over from the erosion and that. So you hold onto trees, you hold onto roots, that's how you get down the embankment. Okay. I'm guessing 80 to 90 foot. I've stated many times as 90 foot. I don't know what it is today, but back then in the early 90s, it's my estimation. So I went down that way, we hold onto roots and stuff. Went over, looked for the glasses, couldn't find them. I'm gonna be late for work if I don't leave, so gave up. Now I'm gonna have to pay for glasses. I'm on my way back up. I'm climbing up, I get about 10 foot from the top, and I see a new route, maybe 15 foot from the top. I see a new route I've never taken. Well,
and you're like, yeah,
adventure.
I'll go that way.
What's the worst could happen? I could die. I got this, and so I'm grabbing onto roots and I'm doing something. I get to a place where there's no way up. Now I'm on a cliff, and there's no path to get up, and I'm stuck. I don't know what to do. Now I can do a move. I don't know what you call that. We used to have a name for it, but do a move where I put all my weight up and grab for something above me. And if I did that, I may grab it, I may not. It was a risky move, but that's all I had left. I didn't remember how I got to where I was. I look left. I don't know how I got there. I'm looking up. I can't go there. I'm stuck, and I got to do something. So that's what I decided I was going to do. I was going to do that move and put all my risk into that, whatever it is up there. And as I went to make that move, the root I was holding on to with my left hand gave way. I was able to grab hold of a root with my right hand as I was started to fall to stop me, but that root gave way.
Oh, wow.
So this root gave way, that root gave way, and I started down.
And you're like, what, 80 feet above the ground?
Yeah, okay. roughly 80 foot. And so I'm sliding down this embankment, like I said, super steep. I'm pressed against it because I don't want to come off. At least there's friction. And everything's going really slow in my mind. It's true that when you're facing the end of life and a tragic experience, you go through temporal displacement and time truly stands still. I was convinced I was going to grab a hold of a root, I would run into a tree, So many different things
Yeah.
could happen for me to stop. This is just going to be a fun story to tell after it's over. And the faster I started...
So you're enjoying the ride
not
down?
enjoying it, but I'm terrified, but not super worried
Yeah.
at the same time. It's the fun part of the adrenaline,
Yeah.
where this is what I signed up
Yeah.
for. This is the adrenaline. I like fear because I like overcoming it.
And you still believe that no matter what was going to happen, you were going to be okay.
I'll be fine.
Yeah.
Whatever it is, it'll be a great story. Yes. Till about 3/4 of the way down, where I was moving way too fast, and it's inevitable now that I'm going to hit.
Yeah.
And panic is the last thing I remember when I realized it's not going to be good this time. And when I woke up, I was at the bottom on the rocky floor with the waterfall in front of me, going down behind me, and the walls on both sides. So to paint the picture, there's a waterfall in front of me that you can't get up, slippery and too tall, whatever. There's a wall to the right of me, a wall to the left of me, and the creek going down in back of me. And a very tight, I don't remember how tight it is, but it's really tight with trees going up there, so there's no way in other than just climbing.
Okay.
You ever hit yourself with a hammer and the first 2 seconds it doesn't hurt, you feel like you just avoided a disaster,
Right.
and then the pain sits in? That's exactly how it was then. I woke up. I didn't know I'd passed out. I blanked out, whatever.
Yeah.
And I woke up and I think, oh, good. Like my first 2 seconds is, I'm okay.
Yeah.
And then the pain hit. The pain was like nothing I'd ever experienced. I felt like a Mack truck was parked, its tire on my chest. The weight of the world was pushing me down. And it was unimaginable pain. I couldn't even tell where the pain was coming from. It was so
It was
awful.
everywhere.
It was everywhere and not specific and unmanageable. So I laid there trying to comprehend how bad off I was, what it meant, and how I didn't do what I'd always done before.
Yeah.
And a thought occurred to me, am I going to die? And somewhere in that beginning part, I realized that each breath I took, there was gurgling. So there's bodily fluid somewhere in my lung area that doesn't belong in there. I don't know if I'm bleeding out internally. I can't get up to look at myself to see if I'm bleeding externally, but I knew that wasn't good. And then I realized that in order to breathe, I had to shout every time. So shouting to breathe was required. I don't know if it was the pain. I don't know if it was what I was dealing with internally, but each breath required an outward exertion of projected voice volume. With the waterfall, that was meaningless. No one's going to hear me because the waterfall's too loud for people to hear me outside, but that's when it occurred to me stuff is really bad.
So you shouted out so you
breathe.
could breathe in.
I was shouting out to breathe out.
Yeah.
Breathing in, gurgled. I would shout out to breathe out.
To get the air out of your lungs.
Yeah. Again, I don't know if it was from pain or for the struggle to breathe, whatever it was. I just remember I had to shout with every breath.
Wow.
So, being a born-again believer, I looked up to God and realized if I have to go to heaven right now, what do I have to show for it? I'm really young, in my early 20s. I've wasted my life chasing adrenaline and adventure. And sure, I went to church on Sunday. Sure, I witnessed to my friends. But I didn't live a Christian life. I was just speaking Christianity and studying Christianity without the practice of it. And it scared me a little bit that I might be going to heaven with nothing to show for the life I was bestowed here on earth. And so I didn't make a deal with God. You'll hear people talking about making deals with God and how they had a promise. None of that. I just prayed a simple prayer. It was a request, but it was almost in a demand type way. I said, please God, don't be done with me yet. I know where I'm going when I die. I know I'm about to face him. I just don't want to face him yet. I don't want to have to give an account for the sorry life I'd lived. I didn't do drugs. I wasn't drinking. I wasn't chasing women. I just lived for myself.
Yeah.
And it wasn't right. So After I prayed that prayer, I decided that I'd just get up and leave. I'd get out of there. So I go to move to get up, and I can't get up. That scared me again. How do I get up? How do I get out of here if I can't get up? So I tried 2 or 3 times. My mind is so many years, whatever. I couldn't. So then I look back up at the waterfall. That's as high up as I can look. I'm laying there, back on the ground. High up I can see is the waterfall, but I'm talking to God looking at the waterfall. And the next thing out of my mouth was, I thought I could give up the ghost. You need to understand, I felt like I was hanging on to my spirit. I can't explain that any better way, but I felt like I was holding on to life. And I felt like all I had to do was release that and I would go to heaven. And I didn't want to. I was holding on to, with everything I had, onto what I knew of living today.
Wow.
And I said to God, you're going to have to take me, because I'm going to climb out of here or die trying. That was the commitment I had to doing all I could to stay here on earth and still do something with my life, knowing full well he could say, nope, you're coming to heaven right now, and I have no choice. Yeah. But if given the choice, I wanted him to know, this is my choice.
Yeah.
Not a deal, just me expressing how I felt. And so I tried to get up again, and I couldn't. So that didn't work. You're going to have to take me, or I'm going to climb out of here and die trying, and I still can't get up. Like that was supposed to do something, right? And I can just picture God up there, okay. So start climbing out, I mean, I'm not taking you.
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And I realized that I had to give everything I had and invest everything I had into getting up. Understand that with all that was wrong with me, I should not have been able to even get up. I got myself on both my elbows, and it was the worst thing I'd ever done in my life, willfully, put myself in that kind of pain. I got myself on my side, and then I got over to hands and knees, and it actually hurt worse on my hands and knees than it did laying down. And I had to crawl over to the beginning of this wall. To me, it's a wall. Understand, I don't want to misrepresent what it was, but to me, I'm in the condition I was in, I'm facing a wall. And it was a very steep wall. I look up, and I'm going to have to climb out. If I don't climb out, I'm going to die there. Laying there, I realized I could wait for my wife, my mom, to miss me. And I pictured in my mind, she can come to the edge, she can scream at me, she can't hear me, I can't hear her. She can get worried she's not coming down.
Do you think she could see you from the edge?
No, not from the trees. There was about a 10-foot drop off that I must have fallen off of at the end before I hit.
Okay.
And that would have hidden me from her sight of seeing me. So I figured when she missed me, she would call the ambulance. They would bring the ambulance over. They wouldn't be able to get me out. And so they'd have to call the helicopter. Helicopter's not going to be able to land. They're going to have to drop that thing down. They're going to have to rescue me. And how long is that going to take? I didn't feel like I had that long. And however long it takes them to figure out what they're going to have to do, I'm just going to die there waiting on someone else to do it. I have to take action myself. So that was the mentality I had as I come over to the edge of the wall and I start working my way up. So I'm crawling, and hand over hand, 1 foot at a time, I start crawling out. I'm not praying to God. I'm not asking for help. I made my mind up. If this is what dying trying looks like, God can choose to allow me to die, but I'm not giving up. I'm not ready to die. I'm not ready to go. I've wasted my life. And it's worth this if I could not die. And climb up to the very top. I crest it. The normal way, not the extra bonus way that I saw before. Idiot. The normal way I know to go. Got to the top, and I had to walk to my mom, and who's in the car. And I don't know if she's 100 yards away, guessing. It's vague now. It's been many, many years, over 30 years now. But walking towards her was really tough, and she sees me in the rearview mirror, and she'd been looking, watching, worried, and she starts running towards me. To this day, I'm so sorry again, Mom, how I reacted to her, but I was single focused. I got to get to the hospital as fast as possible in order for me to have a chance to live. And she comes to me and starts blubbering and asking questions and just being a mom, panicking, and I said, shut up, take me to the hospital. and it snapped her into nurse mode, right? And she got her out of whatever emotion she was in. She knew she had to help me to the car. She got me in the back seat and started driving.
Did she used to be a nurse?
She was not a nurse. She studied, I used to think she was a candy star, but she wasn't that. She worked in the nursing arena doing something nurse-like, but she wasn't registered. She was studying.
Yeah.
So she got opportunity to work with people.
Right. So she went into the medical
arena, doing something nurse-like. I don't know. But she had been trained at least in medical procedures and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So she kind of knew how bad it was and what she needed to do.
Yeah.
So she gets me laid flat in the back seat. We're off in the boondocks. It's dirt road, every bump. It's just excruciating. I'm asking her not to go over bumps. She can't not go over bumps to get to the road. When she gets to the road, it's gravel before it ever gets to potholes, and you're gonna hit it. It's just Washington State back then, in those roads, maybe still the same. I don't know. It's just bad roads. So we got, 30, 40-minute drive to get to the hospital. 15 minutes roughly in, I just don't know that I can keep doing it. Still shouting to breathe. I'm hyperventilated at this point because of what it takes to breathe in and out. So there's a little euphoria going on in there, but it's not good. It's bad because I need all my scruples to focus on breathing and dealing with the pain. And I told her, I don't know if I can keep doing it. And she was talking me through the breathing. She was telling me to breathe, and she was just keeping me engaged, my mind engaged. I couldn't talk to her, but...
Are you still shouting to breathe at this point? That must be terrifying as a mom, to have your son shouting beside you.
I don't know if she could hear the gurgling, but that was what was really troubling to me, is like, how long do I have? How much fluid do I have?
Right.
In the orifice that is gurgling at? What's going on? Is it my heart? Is it... I didn't know.
You felt like there was a countdown on your life.
For sure. Yeah, God's still allowing to count, because I feel like I'm in this balance that he's allowing, but I don't know how long he's going to allow it. I don't know what I've done all I can do. Now it's up to mom and the hospital, but I've given all I have to go. But I still got to breathe to get there. So she gets me to the hospital. She drives to the front. I don't know if we didn't have cell phones back then, so she didn't call ahead. She got me to the front. She must have run in, told them there's an accident. They come out, and all I remember is what it looked like, a cutting board. Just a big, long cutting board. They tried to get underneath me. I couldn't even lift myself up for them to get the cutting board underneath me. I did all I could do at the mountain, the hill. And so I don't know how they got the cutting board underneath me. I remember it being awful painful. And they pulled me out on the cutting board and took me in. And I can't picture the triage or the different people. I just remember having to tell my story over and over and over again. I don't think they believed me. And it is kind of a crazy story to tell. Finally, I remember being before a doctor. And in my mind, I was in an office, but I wasn't in my right mind. My mom said later that's not what happened. But in my mind, that's where I was. And I'm talking to the doctor, and he's asking the same stupid story all over again I'm supposed to be telling him. I looked at my mom and said, can't he ask one of the other people I've told? Why do I have to keep telling the story? Tell him to get me some medicine.
Yes.
I'm in pain. This is not helping.
Yeah.
I still felt like my life is in the balance, right?
Right.
And they're still having me, how many times are you going to tell the story? And I don't know what she said. I don't remember any past that. Next thing I remember was being inside the MRI and falling asleep. So I woke up in the MRI. I fell asleep in the MRI. And they very soon after gave me medicine. Next memory I have was the next day in the hospital in my own room with mom there, and my boss over at Copeland Lumber came to visit me to verify I was actually not staying out. He had to see it to believe it.
That's right.
The story that probably Andy's making up, right? They had me on Demerol, and I would wake up to get another dose, and it would put me back to sleep. It didn't keep me awake. I don't remember when I found out. So many people came to visit me. I remember Dave coming over with some baseball cards. We collected baseball cards at the time. We played pinochle, or spades, I can't remember which, and whoever won got a pack of baseball cards. That's just his way of trying to, be there for his buddy, right?
Right.
And when I finally got told what was wrong, I'd broken 2 vertebrae. I'd broken 2 ribs in the same place where those come together. I'd broken my pelvis. I had one lung was deflated, maybe from the impact, I don't know. And there was fluid going in and out of that good lung from whatever happens when you deflate a lung. Still never really understood that. But they had to get that out. So they had to insert a tube inside, and they were pulling stuff out of that cavity as they're, I don't know, pumping back up that lung. I don't know. I never understood it. So anyway, that tube had to be there to fix the collapsed lung. And other minor scratches and injuries, but the biggest stuff was the broken back, the broken ribs, the broken pelvis, and the lung. And when they told me about that, my mind went back to being at the bottom of that cliff and looking back up, like, how did I get out with a broken back? They tell you not to move if you break your back. I climbed out of that thing with a broken back. They say ribs is one of the most painful things you can break. I had 2 broken ribs, climbed out of that. I didn't walk for a month with the broken pelvis. A whole month I didn't walk. I climbed out with that broken pelvis. How did that happen? It dawned on me, God answered my prayer. He wasn't done with me. I gave 100% to get out of that cliff, and it was absolutely all I had to give, which wasn't enough in my condition to climb out. But God took my 5 loaves and 2 fishes and took care of the rest and pulled me out. That realization gave me a different relationship with my Heavenly Father than I'd had before then. Understanding now I was on borrowed time. Which we're all on borrowed time, right? But we talk about being born again, being saved. I feel like I was not only saved unto righteousness, but I was saved from myself at the bottom of that cliff. And God, a 3rd time, saved me to be able to serve Him. And although I've made a lot of mistakes since that day, that started a different path for me. I still love adrenaline. I still love a challenge. I still love conquering stuff that's unconquerable, and I don't think that'll ever go away. But I started climbing with rope from that day forward. One time I did. I've climbed without rope 1 time since then. I broke my personal promise. And that's after I got back to college. Sunset Rock, the front side, I climbed at 1 time with my college buddy.
Oh,
but
really?
Besides that.
Rusty's crap?
Yeah. Besides that,
Interesting.
I've not climbed without rope. I've bouldered. Bouldering is what, 7 foot above the ground, but not high heights. So, that's that's the story of the rock.
I remember being at home and my mom saying, hey, so Andy has had a rock climbing accident. Like Andy fell off a rock. And I was like, okay.
Seen that before.
Yeah, seen that several times. Like, why are you telling me? And how do you know? Like, so what? Right? And she's like, yeah, and he's in the hospital. And I was like, he's in the hospital? And she goes, yeah, and he's going to call here in just a little bit.
I don't remember this at all.
You don't remember that at all? And I was like, whoa, this is, okay. So something has happened and it's serious. And I remember waiting around for you to call.
Because there's no cell phone, so.
No, it was the home, it was the home line, right? And there was no caller ID. So we were all just kind of hanging around. The phone was right there.
You don't know when.
Watching TV, just kind of waiting, and the phone rings, and my mom answers. She's like, oh, well, hey, Jackie. And, they have the conversation. You were in the hospital. You were in your hospital room. And I remember you, my mom handing the phone to me, and, we started talking. And you said, Jeremy, you were very serious. So, Jeremy, I had a rock climbing accident. I fell and I'm in the hospital, and you kind of told me, a little bit of the story. And you said, I've got to change my life. Like, I've got to change. And I remember thinking, what does that mean? You know, what do you mean you got to change your life? And you had this very, I don't know, you had a near-death experience, and you had an awareness that life is short. And I could feel that over the phone. I could feel that delicacy of life coming through your voice. And it was a little bit scary because of all the things that we had done, right? And I'm like, what does this mean? And I remember hanging up, and I wondered, like, is he going to change? Is he different? Is he going to be the same person that I always knew him to be? Are we still going to do the same things? I remember thinking, he's scared, he's in the hospital, he'll be back to normal.
He's on Demerol.
Yeah, he's on Demerol. But you were different after that. That event, that moment, changed you. It was like you were going full speed in this direction and had a roadblock in front of you, and then you were like, I'm making a right turn and going this way.
Yeah, it had that impact on my life. It had that impact on my life goals, my trajectory. I still love to have fun. I still love to do stuff, but my life is not my own, and I was shown that in a real way through that experience. And understanding, as bad as I want to get out of here, I can't do it.
Yeah.
I don't have control.
Yeah.
God is in control, and he showed me that day how little control I have, and how my choices even are not really into my control.
Yeah.
I choose to go up this mountain. Okay, go up the mountain. I can't even do that without him. It was just, it was life-changing for sure.
Because control when you're talking about high-risk activities, control is an interesting subject.
Yeah.
Because you want to put yourself in a place where you're just outside of, you have control of your safety here, and then you want to go a little bit further, right? And constantly just kind of like pushing that boundary until you're in a gray zone, right?
And come out on the other side without injury.
That's right. And when you come out on the other side, it's like,
that's the win.
Yes.
Let's do it again.
Let's do it again. We made it.
Worth it.
Worth it. So worth it. But you started dialing things back after that. And you started living differently. How would you say your life changed from a practical? Because we still went rock climbing. We still went skydiving.
Yeah.
We still skiing. We
drove motorcycles.
Yeah. Yeah, we still did a lot of things
Too fast.
that people looked at us and they were like, you guys
idiots.
are crazy. Yeah. Why are you living like this?
And we were dialed back.
And we were dialed back. And I would say that you let out in that because you dialed it back. I dialed it back as well. So how would you say that your life has changed from that point?
Well, so we didn't quit rock climbing. I got back on the rock as soon as I could after rehabbing, and I think it took me a full year to recover. Had to get on treadmill to get back in shape, after being down for so long. Just so many different things before we get back. But as soon as we get back on the rock, we did. But I had a rope that we used. We had a harness we could trust. We had shoes we could use. I mean, everything was different, right? And so we would top rope. I got some proper training, what that meant, right?
After you sent me over the edge.
And I was the one that would set it up. If you remember, it was always me that would set it up. I didn't trust anybody else because I'm putting my life on the line. If I'm putting my life on the line, I'm putting your life on the line. So I'm taking responsibility for your life and my life, right? So, and I would preach to you. We would go to, what's that place we camp over in Alabama?
Sandrock?
Yeah, we'd go to Sandrock and we'd jump across cliffs and we'd do all this crazy stuff. And I would preach to you, don't do it. And you're like, oh, it's okay, it's all right. And we don't need to do that. I'd try to dial us back. And then, but whenever we would climb, if it was up to me, it was with rope. But I wasn't perfect. I got a motorcycle after that and would drive it too fast and would do some stupid stuff with that. I didn't lose my need for speed and my addiction to adrenaline, but I did have better understanding of my mortality. and was not tempting God to take my life. I mean, that was always hanging over my head as I did those things. So that gray area got a lot smaller for me.
The line became more defined,
Yeah.
and you recognized it and stayed back.
I wasn't a rule follower. I still rappelled out of my third-story window at college to sneak out, but I rappelled and didn't jump.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the difference. I don't know. It's not a great example for you or anybody else. I still had a long ways to go.
Yeah. How did the awareness of your own mortality change the way that you lived your life or the decisions that you made on a daily basis?
That's a good question. I guess it reminded me of what I was alive for. I never, to this day, I think of regularly, why am I alive? And what's the purpose, right? I think many people go through life and don't think about their purpose or think about what am I supposed to do today. But I still see myself living on borrowed time. So I still see that there better be purpose or I'm wasting what God has given me, gifted these 25 years that I've had since then.
Yeah.
That's a rough estimate. So if I indulge in an experience that gives me that adrenaline, I don't want there to be risk of death. I don't want there to be someone I would lead astray. I want to be in control as much as as much as that's possible. And I don't step beyond that. For an example, right now I don't think I have liberty to skydive. Right now I don't think I could go skydiving. And now I could make the choice to do that, but in the spirit, I think it's been removed for a few years.
Yeah.
So for you to take me, say I want to go skydiving right now, I'd have to go in prayer and feel like, can I go? Can I do that with good conscience?
Why is that?
I don't question it. I don't.
You just feel it in your spirit and
obedient. I'm not at peace. I want to. I would love to go skydiving right now. Leave and go right now.
Yeah.
Nothing better. Do it twice. And not attached to somebody, accelerated free fall on our own. That's the only way to go.
Yeah.
But being true to what you're asking me about, my mortality and where I'm at with that, I'm not at peace with that. And maybe God would let me do that again, but so I don't know how to better answer that. Just following the Spirit is the only way I know. I know it's kind of hard to accept that when it's kind of out there. But I just have an inner direction that I didn't have before, that I follow now that I didn't follow before.
So I noticed, like, when we would get to the place where we had control in a situation, or at least it was manageable control, right? The risk was what we felt an acceptable risk. Right? And then we would get to the place where the risk was high. Right? And we would push into that space where the risk was high. The reward was high, but the risk was high. And when we dialed it back, there is a little bit more sense of control over our own situation, future, right? And so I think that sense of control is what allowed us, or gave us permission, maybe gave you permission to keep doing these things, because you're like, you know what, I'm gonna stay back from the high risk area where I have very little control, right? Where the likelihood of something happening is high and the consequence of something happening is high. So I'm gonna, keep the likelihood of something happening a little bit lower by maintaining control. And you've lived in that space of control for a long time, right? And just recently, probably it's actually less than a year now, a little bit less than a year, you have started to let go of that feeling of control a little bit. Do you know where I'm going with this?
It's uncomfortable even you talking like that. But I like being in control of the situation. Right. Am I a control freak? Would you say that?
Oh, yeah,
okay,
for sure.
So I don't look at myself that way, but if you without hesitation say that, then okay, I accept that. Because then I know what to expect. When I'm not in control, I don't know what to expect. So as much as I can control, I want to. That gives me a feeling of safety. It gives me a feeling of lack of risk.
Yeah.
So yeah, I plan that way. I assess that way. How much control do I have? Yeah.
Yeah, and you like to remove that uncertainty.
Yep. As much as is possible.
As much as possible.
But I like the uncertainty too, under my control.
Right, under your control. So maybe you can explain what has happened to you over the course of this last year that has changed your perspective. Like we go from this, completely doing crazy things without any care or very little regard for the consequences. And then you had the accident and we move into this place of, all right, we're gonna still have fun, it's gonna be controlled, right? We're gonna manage the risk, we're gonna mitigate the risk as much as possible. And then you live that way for a long time, and now you're kind of stepping into another phase where you're letting go of control, but in a different way.
Yeah. It's roughly a year ago, like you said, plus or minus, but roughly a year ago, where I went to a wild game supper at one of the churches in town, and man, Chad
Wright.
Chad Wright, I can't remember his name. I was a special speaker there. He's a ex-Navy SEAL. He's done a lot of crazy stuff, and he's made of the same stuff, loves it, after it. It's just how he's made. And knowing that isn't like that, understands that. Everybody on the outside isn't made that way, looks at us like, you guys are crazy, and why would you be that way? But when you are that way, that's the reason you get up in the morning, right? That's the reason you go to bed at night, is looking forward to that next adventure, whatever it's going to be. And he came and he spoke, and God, through the Holy Spirit, just turned a light on inside me that had never been on before. And I don't understand why I didn't have the light before. My kids, the guy I was with, didn't get anything like that out of the message. But for me, it was just like the simplest ideas put into simple terms of, this is what it means to be a Christian, and this is what life in Christianity should look like. And Andy, you've never lived it. And to face that in my 50s, after 25 years of endeavoring to live that way, is like a slap in the face. Like, your very best isn't near good enough. And I went home just on fire for the potential of testing out what he talked about, and then also just forlorn and a little bit depressed that when I thought I had it figured out, I had nothing figured out. And I really processed in my head what the Holy Spirit, I can't even tell you what he said. I just know what the Holy Spirit showed me. I can give you a few pieces. He gives some great stories. Yeah. If you ever get a chance to listen to him, he tells some great stories, and they're fun. He always has a meaning behind them, but he's fun to listen to just for the stories. Yeah. I love talking to anybody that's been somewhere and done something cool. Yeah. So, but better than that, you can talk to someone like that and they help you in your spiritual journey. It's even, I'm thankful for that dude, because the Holy Spirit used him to give me this truth. And the truth is simple. You're gonna have trials. Now that doesn't blow your mind, right? Everybody knows that. We all have trials. But the reason for trials in our life is to make us more like Christ. Now, you may not take advantage of that trial and use that trial for its intended use. But that's the reason for the trial, no matter what it is. I think we look at trials as humans from a fairness standpoint. Judge, well, it's not fair that I'm going through this trial right now. Why don't you put that murderer through that trial, or that thief through that trial, or why do I have to go? I can think of 15 more people that deserve this more than me. Why me, right? That's the fairness side of it. And I think a lot of my life, whenever a trial would come, I'd say, God, please make it stop. Please make it stop. I don't like it. I don't like it. It hurts. It's painful. I don't want it. Make it go away.
Yeah.
And that's my prayer life. Which, to that point, I felt like was a good prayer. And I'm submitting to God because I'm letting him take care of it. I'm casting my care on him for him to take it away.
Take it away.
But the Holy Spirit in that meeting said, that's not why the trial is there, Andy. The trial is there to help you be more like me. Well, why do you have to teach me that way? Teach me the easy way. I'm willing to learn the easy way. I don't have to learn the hard way. Teach me the easy.
Yeah.
Send the preacher to my house and tell me the thing. I'll take it.
Yeah, give me 3 points. I'll do exactly what they say.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can learn the easy way. I don't have to learn the hard way. But the truth of the matter is nobody learns the easy way. I got this idea for you. I've tried this and I can't break it. Maybe you can. I can't find a place in the Bible where a miracle happened that a trial wasn't present. So I have donned the idea that unless you're going through a trial, you don't need a miracle. So I'm living my life according to that idea now. If I'm not in a trial, I don't need a miracle. Do you want miracles in your life?
Yeah, of course.
I do too. You know what that means? We need trials. Now, no one wants to admit that, right? And many people would say, well, okay, so if that means I have to have a trial, I'll do without the miracle.
Yeah, that's right. I'm okay without a miracle.
I don't need a miracle today.
Yeah.
I don't want to be that person. I want a miracle every day of my life.
Yeah.
But what does that mean? That means I have to be willing to go through a trial. Now, if I pray to God and say, hey, God, this trial is here. I know you probably want to work a miracle. It's just not a good time for me. I really need this trial to go away because I'm really busy. So if you can just make this trial go away, I'm prepared for a miracle later, just not right now. I'm telling God, I don't want to learn. I'm telling God, this isn't a good lesson for me. Because God's allowed it. Either he's in control or he's not. I'm of the opinion God's in control of everything. And he allows whatever he allows for his better purpose. That's just how I believe. And so when I say, God, make it go away, I'm saying your way isn't good enough. I don't like your way. I want it my way. And so I'm trying to pray out of his will for me. So I'm going to miss the miracle because my eyes aren't wide open. So I've taken on this acronym, EPO. And I'll explain that. And you may hate it, you may like it, I don't know. But you got to go into the mindset of racers, these runners, and I believe that guy is a runner too. Chad Wright. I believe he's a runner at ultra marathon or some.
Yeah. I think he runs ultras.
Crazy marathons where you keep running until there's nobody left to race against. Everybody drops out but you. That's how you win a marathon. So you just run until there's no one else left. I don't understand that. I'm there at a mile. I can't run anymore at a mile. They'll run for over a day, right? So it's that blows my mind, but that's not really where I'm coming. I'm not a runner, so I can't approach it from that point. But I do know that the Bible says our Christian life is like a race, and Paul says we run a race. So that's the way I apply it. That's the way the Holy Spirit showed me. I'm on this race, this Christian walk called a race, and in that aspect, I'll race it till the end of my life. So I am in my ultra marathon in my life. I'm in a race. So I gotta fuel myself. I gotta be prepared, and there's going to be obstacles that come my way. Bible, Paul says in the Bible, laying aside the weights that so easily besets me, I press towards the mark of the high calling. So you got to have your mind focused on a mark when you're in this race, right? So this spiritual race I'm in, what's my focus? I think my focus, ever since the fall, has been in the wrong place. Like, get out of trouble as fast as you can. Serve God as best you can, and let him take care of the rest. And I don't believe anymore that's the path. I believe that I'm called into trials. Not trials come just for a test. I'm called into trials because that's going to make me better. And my refusal to enter those trials is my refusal to follow God. So EPO, back with Lance Armstrong and the Tour de France, we used to watch that love Lance, and was always rooting for him, and he won like 88 years in a row. I mean, he was unbeatable, right? And this doping scandal came out, and we're like, no way, Lance doesn't dope, he's just good, and no, they're just haters, and just totally behind him. He said, no, I don't dope, and come to find out, he used EPOs. And I read to write it down because EPO has a very specific meaning, so I'm just going to pull it out. EPO is a hormone used by endurance athletes to boost red blood cell production, stay with me, to increase oxygen transport around the body, which improves aerobic performance. Use of the drug exploded in popularity following the 1998 Tour de France when it was found in the hotel rooms and support vehicles of the competing teams. So that's what EPO is. It's an enhancer that was not legal when you were doing the tour.
Yeah.
It is legal for a doctor to give you, but not legal because it gives you an unfair advantage.
Okay.
Well, if I'm doing something, I want all the advantages I can if I'm competing or striving to be the best I can be. And I'm not so against an unfair advantage if it helps me do good. So, if we're playing Monopoly and I can talk you out of something that isn't fair, I'm happy to talk you out of that if I can beat you at Monopoly. It's just how I'm made.
So okay. Let me just. So we played a lot of poker together. So let me back up here. So explain that in poker terms. How would you create an unfair advantage to win my money?
Okay, so with you and the guys, I would never use mark cards. I would never secondhand deal. I did practice those things for magic tricks. Never cheated that way. But I always watched you for ticks. And any unfair advantage I could get, like if you have a good hand, you do this, or you have a bad hand, you do that, I would keep track of in my head. So then I know you have a higher propensity to be bluffing or telling the truth because of that tick.
Gotcha.
So I would watch for those, and that's what I would call my EPO, my unfair advantage, because you don't know that you're giving me this tick, but I know that you're giving me that tick, so I know whether to bet or not.
Right.
That's the way I would explain that.
Okay.
And so I use my own acronym for EPO in my spiritual walk. And so the first letter EPO is E, and I use endure for that. And in my mind, I put down endure the trial. So the trial comes, I got two choices: try to get out of it or settle in. Trench in, dig in, accept it. It's from God. I'm just going to take it.
Yeah. Give
me your best shot. I'm taking the trial. Well, that's great until you get beat up too much. You've heard the term, I've endured long enough. Now it's time for...
I've said that,
yeah. We all have.
Yeah.
And when you're married, that might come up in marriage. When you got kids, it might come up with kids. When you got a dog, it might come up with a dog.
Yeah.
So many areas of our life. Your job,
right.
I've endured long enough. I don't think that exists for the Christian. There's no I've endured long enough. God decides when you've endured long enough. Paul had a thorn in the spirit. He asked God 3 times to take it away. All 3 times God said no. You know what? Paul didn't say I've endured long enough. He accepted it. And later in life, what did he say? He said, I get excited when I fall into these trials now. It excites me. Why would it excite him? That's not normal. That's crazy, right? Because he knew God was going to show up when the trial came. He knew he was going to see a miracle. And without that, he might not see it.
Yeah.
So endure.
Endure.
But enduring is not enough. You got to have a P.
Patiently. With
persevere.
Persevere.
Would be my P word. Okay. So endure and then persevere. Persevere in the endurance. That means if you're persevering, you're not tapping out in the endurance. There's never, I've endured long enough. Perseverance requires you to keep on and keep on and keep on.
Okay.
You're in that race. You're not getting out of that race. The race is going on and on and on. So when you feel like you've given as much as you can give, you keep giving.
Persevere.
That goes back to my rock experience, right? I couldn't climb out of there. I felt like I was killing myself to climb out. But one foot in front of the other, one arm over the other arm, I climbed out of that place, not because I was capable, not because it was physically, humanly possible, but because God required 100% of my effort and did 90% of the work.
Yeah.
That's the perseverance part of endurance.
So going back to the rock example, you endured the pain and you persevered until you reached the top.
Yes, and beyond, because I had to keep breathing till I got to the hospital, right? It wasn't until they gave the medication to make, the pain never went away for 15 years. I dealt with pain forever. I was on hydrocodone for 15 years dealing with the pain. It was a long, long, long struggle.
Right.
But it made it possible to endure. Persevere through the endurance. So then you get to the O, and here's where you might be challenged. If endurance and perseverance isn't enough, and sometimes they might not be, I say you need to be obstinate. So before
if there was a superpower that you had, it would be obstinate.
you're saying I don't even have to work at that?
It comes natural.
So let me give you the definition of obstinance, because I think it gets misunderstood.
Okay.
A stubborn refusal
Yeah.
to change one's opinion or chosen course of action despite attempts to persuade one to do so.
Yeah.
So if my chosen course of action is enduring the trial, my chosen course of action is persevere to endure
Yeah.
the trial, then I'm going to stubbornly stay on that course regardless of attempts to persuade me not to do that.
You mean exit ramps?
No exit ramps. I'm going to be obstinate
Yeah.
and stay on that course.
Yeah.
No exit ramp. Whatever you're throwing at me to get me off the course, obstinately take that hit,
Yeah.
and keep on.
Right.
So stubborn and obstinance to the good,
Yeah.
not to the bad.
Right.
That doesn't mean that I'm always following God, right? I'm obstinate and stubborn that I want to follow God. But sometimes I get it wrong.
Yeah.
Sometimes I need a friend like you to come by and say, Andy, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You're being a stumbling block here. No, I'm not. I'm following God.
Right.
But Andy, just listen to me for a second.
Right.
You caused me to stumble because you did this. Oh man, get over it. I'm following. No, that's not what I would say.
Right.
I would say, oh man, I didn't mean to be a stumbling block. I'm called not to be a stumbling block.
Yeah.
How can I change that? I still need to do this. How can I change that so I can not be a stumbling block? Can I work with you?
Yeah.
And change my course in a positive manner and get stubborn on that course to follow God.
Yeah.
Until someone else tells me I'm an idiot.
Yeah.
And just do something better.
Yeah.
So not being obstinate in I have all the answers.
Right.
Being
You're open
obstinate.
to other opinions. You're
Yes.
not saying my opinion is the only opinion,
No.
the right way in this, and I'm not going to change it.
Right.
Right.
Willing and open to change direction if I can follow God better
Yeah.
than I am today. But I'm obstinate and stubborn that I want to follow God.
So what is your opinion? Like, what is the opinion that you're stubbornly following?
I would say like the guy that's sitting on the couch says, I need to work out. His opinion is that he needs to work out.
Yeah.
So he turns on the TV and he gets that workout course, 30 minutes, and he watches the whole thing eating Doritos. He did nothing. He's got a great opinion. But that opinion got him nowhere.
Yeah.
Right?
Without
So I
action.
think you got to have action.
Yeah.
So the action calls you back into that endurance
Yeah.
and perseverance. So my opinion is that I need to not just have a good path. That's good, but I may not have the right path. I got to have a good path, but I got to have action and go on that path.
And be obstinate in that action.
Yes, obstinate. I'm going to stand up. I'm going to work out.
Yeah.
No matter, I know it's going to hurt. I know it's going to cause pain. I know I'm going to sweat. But I'm going to do it. I'm stubborn in that I'm going to walk down this path.
That's right. You're going to endure the pain. You're going to persevere to the end, and you're going to be obstinate in that endurance and perseverance until you get to the end.
It's changed my life. This past year has been such a different walk since this truth has just turned on in my head. I have no idea if how many lives dude has touched with his story, but the Holy Spirit absolutely used that to turn a lot of my head, and I'm 100% on that journey now. Do I fail? Yes. Do I take off roads? Yes. But that's where the stubborn and obstinance has to come in. No, Andy, get back on track and follow this. I fall, but I get back up. I trip, but I get back up.
That's really cool. You know, you called me after that wild game supper. Do you remember that?
I do. I've called so many people. And it's so frustrating. I try to share this story, and people look at me like,
And
like, you don't get it? I mean, it's so clear to me. And it's so,
Yeah.
that's the way the Holy Spirit works,
Yeah.
right? He shows us what we need to hear, and that story isn't for everybody else, it's for us.
Right.
And what gets you on fire may not get me on fire.
Right.
But go ahead. What were you thinking when I called you?
well, I remember thinking back it's funny that we just talked about this whole story, because when you called me, I had the same sense that I had when you called me from the hospital room. Like, I felt a shift in you, in it going in a different direction. And then when you called me last year, and you're like so excited about this, and you're like mind blown, I feel this shift in you going in a different direction. And it's been cool to see over the course of the last year how you haven't deviated from that direction. You've been obstinate and, moving in a different direction.
Yeah. it's exciting to see. I feel sorry for people that don't choose this path and miss the miracles that God has prepared for them to deepen their faith. I got this analogy too, man. I think of the spark you talk about. We sang as kids, it only takes a spark to get a fire going, and soon all those around get warmth. Something I can't sing. You remember the song?
I don't.
Okay.
I've never sang that song.
Well, the idea behind the song is a spark spreads and becomes a fire, and the fire spreads and more people are affected. So in the Christian walk, my spark was that wall, but it never caught fire. It was just a spark. So it's just the pilot light running, waiting on me to light it, right? And I spent 25 years thinking I was on fire, and all I had was a pilot light.
Wow.
And I'm ashamed of that. Like I was ashamed of my life.
Why would you be ashamed of that?
Thinking I was on fire and I only had a pilot light.
You just didn't know.
I didn't, but I wish I had.
Yeah.
I wish I would have understood.
Yeah.
I'm thankful now that I do, but I look back and now I'm 53. How many years could I have helped others? Could I have been more on fire? Could I have been used by God?
Could you have seen miracles because
watch miracles, my faith be strengthened, yes. So
because you weren't avoiding the pain, but you were embracing it.
Right. So I believe that faith, follow me with this, faith, your measure of faith is directly correlated to the size of your fire. So with little faith, you have a pilot light. With bigger faith, you got a fire in the fireplace. With a lot of faith, you got a bonfire. Your faith is directly correlated to your fire in your soul for what you're passionate about. I know that my faith is strengthened through trials. So as I willingly endure a trial, persevere through the trial, and be obstinate not to take a path outside of it, but stay in it, miracles happen that I get to see, and that strengthens my faith, which expands my fire.
Wow. So would you say that you're living more passionately now?
That's a funny question from you. You say I'm a very passionate person.
You're like one of the most passionate people I know.
I would argue that my passion's been dialed back some. My resolve is stronger. I've dug down deeper into this new path. But I know less truth than I have before. I'm less passionate about everything in the world. I'm more willing to learn and listen and watch and be part of than I used to be just telling the world how life is. Because the trials have shown me whatever I think I know and understand may not be the whole reality. And when I'm in the trial, I realize how little I have control and how little I have free choice and how much God is in control. And that's so much better for me when He takes control and He shows the miracle than when I have to come up with it. And I could take you through miracles for this last year, one after one after one, that time after time, His miracles surprised the socks off me. Would not have been something I would have come up with, but so much better. And realizing that strengthens my faith, makes you ready for the next trial, makes you ready for the next trial.
So has that been a hard road, knowing you as much as you like control, surrendering that control?
It was in the beginning. So quickly in the beginning, I had to realize that if I want this for me, I have to welcome trials, and that's a scary thought. I don't want to welcome trials. I don't like trials. No part of trials do I enjoy. Still today.
I mean, nobody does really. I don't think so.
But I want them now, and I didn't want them before. So it's like I want to be healthy, but I don't want to eat broccoli. Well, unless you eat broccoli, you're not going to get healthy. So I willingly eat the broccoli, hoping that it makes me healthy. Because if they're wrong, I wasted my life and was miserable with the broccoli, right? Now, I'll pray for a trial. I'll ask God, would you find me worthy? Would you find me worthy to go through a trial for you today so I can see a miracle? if I'm faithful to God in the middle of a trial and I don't try to fix it and allow him to do the whole thing, it doesn't just affect me.
What do you mean?
When other people see me going through a trial, they'll ask me, how are you doing? What's going on? I see something's wrong. And I get to share, I'm trusting God right now. I am going through something. I don't know what the answer, but I know God's going to show up, and I can't wait to see what he's going to do. And you know what? I asked for this. I don't expect to understand. I'm okay with him calling me crazy, but I know it works. And I know when he shows up and gives me that miracle, my faith is going to be strengthened. I'm going to be more ready for the next one. And I am almost now as addicted to seeing a trial and a miracle as I am the adrenaline. It's so cool to see what God does and how he takes care of us, and I don't want to miss it. The next time I miss the trial, I'm going to miss that faith-growing opportunity, and I'm covetous. If you were to tell me, this is honest to goodness truth, if you were to tell me you went through a trial today, and here's what God gave to you through that trial, I'd be so jealous you got to go through a trial and I didn't. Old Andy a year ago would be, man, that's awesome for you. I'm glad you went through the trial. Glad God told you something. Thank you, God, for not choosing me. Because I didn't get it. I want that faith-building experience. I want you to have it too, but I want to enjoy it too.
Yeah.
And if you were to call me and say, Andy, I tried it and it worked, that would jazz me up, and I'd say, God, pick me next. Let me do it. It happened yesterday. We had 2 miracles happen this week at work. And I was texting the owner, or emailing, I think it was email, we're a problem bigger than us. We don't know what we're going to do, don't know how we're going to fix it, and it's stressful. I said, I can't wait to see what God's already given us 2 miracles. Wait for it. He's going to give us another one. I can't wait to see what it's going to be. Testify it, and came on Friday. And that miracle was the one we were looking for. The first 2 weren't the one. The one on Friday is the one we've been asking for, we've been waiting for, and it came. And had we not been sitting in the trial waiting for it, we would have just been, oh good, well finally. Trial's over, and now we have the solution. Why couldn't it come 2 weeks ago? Missed the whole miracle. But my faith is strengthened. Why? Because God did show up, because he did give the alternative that is positive rather than the alternatives we can come up with, which were negative. I don't want our negative solutions. None of our solutions are positive. We did everything we could, and we failed. But God provided the answer.
So do you intentionally put yourself in situations to be tried or to suffer or to endure and persevere? Like, do you say, all right, I'm going to go do this hard thing because I want to see a miracle? Or do you just wait?
I wouldn't say that, no. I don't look for where's the next trial I can get into. Let me put myself in the situation, maybe I'll see a trial. I feel like that's trying to manufacture, manipulate God into something. I don't do that. I live my life expecting the trial to come, and when it comes, this is it.
You're ready.
What's going to happen now? All right, I got to endure. I got to persevere. I'm going to be obstinate. What's going to happen? And I'm waiting on the miracle now as I endure the trial.
So your perspective of the trial before it comes has changed.
Yes.
So the way that you walk through the trial has changed as
yes.
well.
Yeah.
And then at the end, the result is worth it.
It's worth it. Think of this. If the enemy can threaten you by negative things, which we call trials, then he has something over you. If the best thing he has against you is to put you in harm's way or give you trial, and that's what you've been waiting for.
You're like, bring it on.
Thank you. This is what I wanted, God. Here it is. This is it. What are we going to do? How's this going to work? I can't do it. I'm giving all I got. This is the most I can do. I can't do any more. What are you going to do?
Wow. That's good. It's good. It's good. It's good. Can you share something, well, like what has been your most exciting or, well, can you give us an example of that victory, of that result, of the end of a trial? I know you just did with your work.
I'll give you my favorite one in the last year.
There you go. Give me
my biggest miracle that is, you can't make it up. If you were to write a script, no one would believe it. So Here at church, I was doing some preaching in the evening. We do small groups sometimes. We call them growth tracks. And I was doing a series, and you get an hour to give a lesson. I was giving a lesson, and we were one away from the last lesson. So this is the lesson before my last lesson. I'd purposefully put everything together so that this lesson I could be finished, so the next lesson I could give my rock story, where I fell. Because I wanted to challenge them to give 100%, give their all to God, and see what he would do with it. That was the message I wanted to give. I felt like the rock story would be a good way to give that message. In order to get there, I had to get this message done. So I'm all pumped up. I'm ready to give this message tonight, right? So it's Sunday. I got home from the morning service. I'm ready to go to the evening service, have lunch, and then about 1:30, I have this awful pain in my abdomen. So I do what everybody does when you get those pains, and it doesn't work. And it won't work. And so I'm waiting in the bathroom and trying, and no relief. And it gets so bad that I can't make it out of the bathroom. Pain is so bad, I'm just going to the tub. Back and forth. When I feel like I might can get some relief, I switch positions, but the relief doesn't come. I go back and get in the tub, and it gets to 2 o'clock and 3 o'clock. And then the problem doubles. So I don't just have a problem in one area, I have a problem in both areas. And I can't get relief either place. I try running my hand under warm water. All the tricks you think of, right? Nothing works. So what was bad enough became worse. So I'm thinking in my mind, it's a trial, right?
Yeah.
What good can come of this? So I'm praying, God, I'm not asking to get out of it. I'm here as long as you're going to have me. This is awful, but I'm enduring and I'm present. I'm not trying to think of something else. I'm not watching TV. I'm not reading a book. I'm here present, living inside this trial, waiting on you. Minute after minute is excruciating. I don't think I've been in that much pain since the fall. So that's what I would equate it to. And I told my wife, mistake. I told my wife, there's no way childbearing is worse than this. Don't ever tell your wife that. Childbearing is worse than anything you've ever done. Just trust me.
You must have been out of your mind.
So I'm supposed to preach at 6. I have 4:30 comes, and I was supposed to do something else at the church. I had to bail from that. Didn't get to that. I made that phone call, and I'm getting frustrated because the miracle didn't happen.
Yeah.
I need to give the lesson tonight in order to do the lesson I want to do next week. So I start praying again. I said, God, do you not want me to give that lesson next week? Can't you see how awesome that would be? I'm giving the testimony that you gave me to give. Surely that's what you want. Do you not want that? I don't want it for me. I want it for you. You tell us to pray according to your will. I'm praying according to your will, right? Where's the miracle?
Yeah.
I'm present. I'm enduring. I'm not asking for it to stop. I just don't understand, God.
Yeah.
I have 45 minutes before I have to come. I'm finally like, it's just not going to happen. So a last-ditch effort, I pray to God. I say, God, if you would just take away the pain enough for me to get out of this bathtub and get dressed and go and preach that sermon, just that, I'll come back. Go back in the bathtub and take the pain as long as you want to give me. But I really want that bad to give the message next week. So I submit to you, maybe you don't want that. I get it if you don't, and we're out of time, but that's my last-ditch effort. That's what I'm willing to do if you're willing to do it.
Yeah.
Trying to negotiate staying in the trial, asking for a miracle, and how that looks when you don't know God's will.
Yeah.
Pain let up a little bit. I get excited. I told my wife, tell one of my boys, I don't remember which one, to get my backpack with my laptop in. I might be able to go. I'm able to get up, so I go get my clothes on. I can't carry the backpack, too much pain. I'm in a lot of pain. And I get downstairs and get inside the truck, and the pain is getting a little bit better as I'm getting there. I get to church. He takes my laptop in, he puts it up. I log in, and I warned the class. Said, I just need you to know I've been in a lot of pain. I don't know why God's allowed me to be here, but the pain has let up enough for me to be here. I don't know if I can teach the whole lesson. I may have to leave. So if I do, guys, I'm sorry, but I'm here to try. 15 minutes into the lesson, one of the people in there listening said, we can't even tell you're in pain. Now, I was in pain. But not so much that I couldn't teach, not so much the Spirit couldn't give the message, and they couldn't even see it anymore. As soon as the lesson was over, my son came and got the laptop. We got in the truck. We went back to home. As I'm driving up the driveway, all the pain comes back, just in a whirlwind. I barely got up into the bathtub, sat back down, made it hot again, and I'm just there. I was there until after 9 o'clock. It took somewhere between 9 and 10:30 before the pain relief came. And when the pain relief came, it was such a blessing. But if my prayer had been, make it go away, make it go away, make it go away, I'd have never got up, I'd have never gone. The pain didn't go away. The pain became bearable. There's a scripture that talks about this. It says, he will with the temptation make a way of escape that ye may be able to bear it. Doesn't say he'll take the problem away. Doesn't say he'll take the trial away. He says you'll be able to bear it. I was able to just bear it enough to come and do the message. And he took the pain away enough to do that. The pain came back, but he answered the prayer with that miracle. I can't explain that other than God.
Wow.
I asked for it. He gave exactly what I asked for. In that position, you can't predict that. You can't call that.
Yeah.
And then I got to give the message the next week. And it blessed so many people. I was so ecstatic that God allowed that. So that's the best one. There's so many.
Yeah.
But that's my favorite one.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a good one. It's good. It's good.
If I impressed you, do you have a desire to walk that journey?
Yeah, for sure. For sure. Yeah, for sure.
I love that. We share so much. We do so much that is common. I love that you're willing to take that and desire that. Because I'd give everything else up that we do for this one thing.
Yeah. 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 Actually, it's funny because just like the Lord has used you in so many ways in my life, and you have influenced me, I'll put it that way, in so many ways throughout the course of my life, starting from the time you climbed the tree till, we were throwing rocks at each other. So many things that
not all positive.
That's right, not all positive. Most of them legal,
I'm sorry.
Most of them legal, not all legal. But you have influenced me. And when you called me last year, you shared that with me. And I think I probably had the reaction that most people had when you tell them. First was like, yeah, glad you're figuring this out, Andy. Glad you're just now figuring this out. And then, over the course of this last year, I called you in the middle of a trial, in the middle of a struggle. And you're like, yeah, it's great, isn't it? Like, what? No. You're like, I love those moments because that's when the miracle happens. And I remember thinking, what? What are you talking about? And that's when I asked you, I was like, who is that guy that you were talking about? Because I know you told me, but I think that I missed something in there.
Let me go listen to myself because you're not doing a good job explaining this.
Well, yeah, and I went and I listened to that Wild Game Supper. It's actually up on YouTube.
It's online? Yeah,
yes.
Cool.
And so I listened to it and I'm like, yeah, this is exactly what Andy said. This is exactly what Andy said. What did I miss? What did I miss? I'm like, I missed the EPO, the enduring, the persevering, and being obstinate in the endurance and the perseverance. And I would say recently I have begun moving in that direction. I would say I'm still not to the point where I definitely am not praying for struggles or trials or tribulations, but I'm at the point where when they come, it's like my radar goes up, the antenna goes up, and it's like, okay, what's going on here? And is there a miracle? Is there something that God is doing in the middle of all this? And if so, you know what, I'm not going to shut it down. I'm not going to be quick to control the situation or manage the situation. I'm going to live in the situation and look for the Lord in all of this to see what could possibly be happening. Yeah. And, in order to do that, to stay in that, you've got to endure and you've got to persevere. So, yeah.
Love it, man.
Appreciate you.
Yeah, appreciate you. Thanks for taking the journey. I love those conversations where you talk to somebody else and they had a success story, they had a miracle.
Mm-hmm.
You could talk about how that happened. I like being able to tell the story. I love hearing them, but I like experiencing them a little bit more.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for taking the journey with me, man. Thanks for being with me all this time.
Thanks for sharing that. Appreciate it. Feel like it was good.
Yeah. Can we pray?
Absolutely.
Dear Heavenly Father, I love you. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to see you in a different way. Thank you for giving us the disciples and apostles' view, where they also took glory in infirmity, knowing that you would show up. Man, I'm sorry, God, I didn't understand. I was so thick-headed for so much of my life, but thank you for using somebody to help me see it, and I'm so thankful for this truth today. Now, I'm sorry, God, that I still fail you. I'm sorry that I don't get it right all the time, but I'm so thankful that you are willing to give me more chances. I thank you for Jeremy, who's also started down this journey. I pray that you would show him these same truths and work with him in the same way. Thank you, God, for his influence in my life and his relationship. And I pray, God, that you would bless him through this new journey that he's on. And thank you for it in your name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Jeremy.